It's showtime.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, the first video of the year. So first, Happy New Year to everybody. We hope you came well into 2021. Today we're going to cover one of the most interesting solar energy stocks at the moment, Enphase Energy, which we first covered in a separate top 5 video where we were really impressed with the numbers. So we thought let's do a deep dive on this company and understand a bit better what they're doing and how do their prospects in the future look like. So before moving into that, we are first going to take a look at how the stock has developed since its inception in 2012, and as we can see here, it remained relatively flat for the first 5 to 6 years. Then it started to pick up the pace, and during 2020 it has just exploded completely and are now 175.47 a share. During the last year, the increase has been almost 500%, so really impressive. But again, sometimes things that goes up very quickly can also come down, and we're going to analyze in this video whether we expect this to be the case for Enphase or not. So please stay tuned because this is going to be really interesting. First, let's have a look at their main products. I will show this short video which will explain it because that explains it better than I can do. So here you go.
Welcome to the Enphase microinverter system, a simple system that delivers clean energy for you and your family. Harnessing the free and abundant power of the sun to drive this simple system, the Enphase solution puts a small microinverter under each solar panel on your roof, allowing you to maximize power production. These microinverters connect to a communications hub, the Enphase Envoy, which helps monitor your system, tracks your energy usage, and speaks to the Enphase Enlighten app. With Enlighten, you can then see how much energy your home is generating and using.
So what we really think is cool about Enphase is that they want to create this all-in-one smart energy system. And as you just saw in their video, the main business is the IQ microinverters, which is connected to the solar panels. It feeds down to the Envoy, which is called IQ Combiner, which is the communication hub. And that feeds into the Enlighten mobile app, which is the user-friendly app for the customers where they can see the energy production, the consumption, basically monitoring the performance of the whole system. So this was basically phase 1 of the Enphase products. Then they launched phase 2 during 2020 when they issued the Encharge 10 storage system that we will run over just in a little bit. But this is basically backup power. So in case the grid fails, you have backup power readily available. Here you also have the Empower Smart Switch, which is basically the device that detects and seamlessly transition the home energy system from grid power to backup power in the event of a grid failure. So again, they want to make it interconnected, they want to make it simple for the customers, and we think it's really cool that they are developing and expanding on their product portfolio. So quickly running over the Encharge storage system, the most important feature of this is obviously to have power when the grid is down, and this is what it provides. This is the utmost necessity for some customers. Enphase started the production shipments to customers in North America in July 2020, but the production first ramped up in the third quarter. They today have 2 systems, the Encharge 3 storage systems, which is basically provides a total usable energy capacity of 3.4 kilowatt hour, and it has 4 embedded grid forming microinverters. Then you have the Encharge 10 storage system, which is basically just comprising of 3 Encharge 3 storage systems. So it's the bigger one of them. And then you have the Empower Smart Switch, which we just covered, and this is basically the one that is connecting to the grid. So just some quick facts about Enphase. It was founded in 2006 with 789 employees as of the end of the third quarter 2020. They're headquartered in Fremont, California, but they have offices globally. They have shipped more than 30 million microinverters representing approximately 9 gigawatt as of today. They have approximately 1.3 million systems in more than 130 countries as of the end of third quarter 2020. So this illustrates that they have global presence as of today. They have shipped more than 82 megawatt hour of energy storage systems. So again, this was something that was launched during the middle of 2020, so it's good to see that they already have some sales around that, and that is obviously expected to grow in the future. And they had a first full year of GAAP profitability in 2019 with net income of 161.1 million. So really good numbers, and that was also what we covered in our separate top 5 video, where we said profitability has become really good for this company, and if they can keep this up, it will be amazing numbers for the industry. So the business model is that they want to be capex light, basically have no big factories. They have big production in Mexico with an ongoing partnership with Flex Electronics Manufacturing. And as we will illustrate later in the video, there's definitely some pros to that, but there's also cons to it. The headcount is that they have 40% of the staff in North America, they have 43% in India and China, 5% in Europe, and 12% in Australia and New Zealand, so relatively global present. They have some big partnerships, and this is one of the big advantages that we see for the company, that they have had these for several years. And basically this is partnerships with companies that manufacture solar panels. And basically when they sell a solar panel, this one comes with an Enphase microinverters, which is obviously a huge benefit to the company because they don't need to generate the sales themselves. It comes automatically once any of these 4 partners, there's more than this, does a sale. So this is a benefit, and we will explain this a bit later in the video in more details. Taking a high-level overview of the financial performance for the last years, what we can see is that the revenue has increased over the last 2 years. It has been relatively flat for the last 2 quarters, so it's going to be interesting to see how Q4 is going to pan out with the presidential election in the US. Maybe it has triggered something more. That is what we hope to see, at least. In the past years, Q4 has been a good quarter in terms of sales, so hopefully it's going to be the case again. The quarterly gross margin is increasing year on year over the last 2 years, so again really solid numbers. On the operating expense percentage as per year, it increased a bit here in Q2 and Q3, but that could be related to the production of the Enphase storage system. We are not 100% sure about that, but it is not a huge concern to us yet. And especially when you see the quarterly operating income percentage by the year has also been increasing in the last 3 quarters. So again, really strong and solid numbers that we are seeing from them. Looking a bit more in the details, we can again see revenues went up from end of 2018 to 2019 with almost 100% to 624 million. The cost of goods obviously also increased, but not by the same margins. That's good to see. This also means that the gross margin went from 29.9% to 35.4%. As of Q3 2020, this is at 53.2%, so really strong number. The operating income, 1.6 million in 2018, it was 102.7 in 2019, and in the 3rd quarter only of 2020 it was at 51.8 million. So again, really strong, solid numbers that not a lot of other companies can show similar to this in the solar industry as of today. And this is what we really like about the company, that they have managed to go from not being profitable to become profitable and showing really strong, solid numbers at the same time as they are expanding their product offerings. So what we really like about Enphase is that they're not just standing still, they're continuing to expand their partnership agreements around the world. In Europe, in August 17 last year, they announced a strategic partnership with Sonnenstrom Fabrik, high quality manufacturers of solar modules, to develop the first high efficiency Enphase energized AC model for residential markets, which is where Enphase is really strong. In Australia, 1.5 weeks after, they announced that Solar Gain, one of Australia's largest and most experienced solar energy providers, has selected Enphase microinverters as the premium inverter solution for its turnkey retail solar offerings in Australia, so expanding their presence there. Same week, they announced that Enphase IQ microinverters for high power monofacial and bifacial solar modules are being shipped to customers in Australia and Europe. So again, expectation of that revenue is going to increase in Europe and in Australia. In Europe, a month after, they announced that they had entered into a partnership with 3 solar distribution companies in Belgium and the Netherlands, Carbomat Group, Libra Energy and Solar Clarity, further strengthening Enphase presence in the European solar market, not focusing only on US but also expanding globally. And lastly, in October 20, they announced that Suncool Energy had started offering the Enphase Encharge storage systems to customers in South Florida. So again, they are starting out small, but we have great expectations for this Enphase Encharge storage system, as we will show in a little bit. So expanding on the product offerings will increase the total services addressable market, which they expect will go from 3.3 billion in 2019 to 12.5 billion in only 2022. So a huge increase over a short period of time. The residential solar and small commercial solar will grow from 2.5 billion to 4 billion and 300 million to 1.5 billion. The residential storage, the Encharge storage system, will grow from 500 million in 2019 to 3 billion in 2022. Huge increase. But what we're really excited about is one of the future products, which is going to be called Ensemble in a Box, which is off-grid solar and storage. They expect that to be around 4 billion in 2022. And this will support multiple applications for existing developed markets and the emerging Indian market. This is a product that we think will be a key differentiator in the future for Enphase if they develop it successfully. Imagine today you have maybe 1.3 billion people that do not have access to electricity or the grid infrastructure. Imagine in these kind of places where access is limited, this kind of autonomous solar system would be invaluable to them. It would basically provide electricity to the parts of the developing world where it's currently inaccessible, and it could be used for so many applications. Obviously, a simple thing is just lighting. It could also be to power water pumps and other types of basic electrical technologies that could help these countries, and it could jumpstart economic activities in these parts of the world. So it is definitely a target towards undeveloped parts of the world like Africa, parts of Southeast Asia, of course, because Southeast Asia is very developed in many ways, and it could also be in India, as just mentioned before. So this is something that we have huge expectation for, and we think that it could be a potential blockbuster if, again, developed successfully. So until now, everything is looking really good for Enphase. Where some of the problems can arise? Well, that is basically from the competition. So today you have 3 types of inverters in the market. I will not go into details for all of them, basically because I'm not an engineer that do not have the expertise in this. But the first one is the string inverters, which is centralized direct current to alternating current conversion. This is the simple form of an inverter. What is really good about it is that it is an easier system maintenance with no electronics on the roof. As you can see here, the inverter is seated down here. It is known for its durability and reliability, but the downside of it is that it only offers string level monitoring, so everything in one go. Then you have a middle ground between what Enphase is providing, the microinverters and the string inverters. That is the inverters plus power optimizers, which also has a centralized direct current to alternating current conversion. What is the benefit of this is that the power output of each panel is optimized independently. As you can see here, it's not a string system. It provides both system and panel level monitoring, of course. But the problem with that is that the future system size increase may require additional central inverter, which you see down here. And basically that means more cost, and that is one of the downsides of this system. Then you have the microinverters, which is the panel level direct current to alternating current conversion. Here the power output of each panel is optimized independently. This system size can be expanded easily in the future, but the downside is that electronics are all located on the roof. Moreover, microinverters are good, particularly for residential solar systems. I don't think that is any surprise when you have seen what Enphase is focusing on. It is very much residential solar systems. In general, microinverters are more expensive than string inverters or power optimizers. However, recent declines in the cost have made them more competitive option. So again, when a customer needs to select the system, it has different factors to consider. It has how advanced the system should be, how easy it should be, how flexible it should be, and obviously how much can it cost. Because if you go from the string inverters, that is the cheapest option out there, and then it gets more expensive as you move along up to the microinverters. If you look at the market as of today, string inverters are by far the most commonly deployed option, and it comprises the vast majority of the world inverters market, especially for larger scale systems. However, microinverters technologies have gained popularity and market share over the last 5 years as the costs have come down. So again, if Enphase is successful in continuously reducing the cost for its system, it may offer more advantages than string inverters also for larger scale, but that is still to be seen. If we take a look from a company perspective, the primary competitor in the US is SolarEdge, that we also covered in a separate video and which we also really like. They have 61% of the US inverter market versus 19% for Enphase. SolarEdge manufactures primarily inverters plus power optimizers, so slightly different from Enphase. One advantage that we see from Enphase over a company like SolarEdge is that they have the partnerships, as we mentioned earlier, with the original equipment manufacturers. So they have long-term partnership with those companies, and again, basically when they sell a solar panel, it comes automatically with an Enphase microinverter, and that's a big advantage because they don't have to drive the cells themselves, and this is something that gives them an advantage over a company like SolarEdge. Another thing that has benefited Enphase is that the Huawei was basically blacklisted from the US, and they have capitalized on that during 2020. Huawei is the largest global manufacturer of inverters. So again, it's not a small insignificant player that was just thrown out of the US, but again, a benefit to Enphase. What are some of the risks for Enphase? Well, basically, they depend upon a small number of outside contract manufacturers. As we mentioned, they are manufacturing most of their things in Mexico. They do not have internal manufacturing capability, so they are depending on them, and that is definitely a risk compared to other companies. Also, manufacturing problems could result in delays in product shipments. They may not be the preferred customer for whoever is going to manufacture their products, and again, they may not be prioritized. By having your own manufacturing capability, you can determine that yourself, you can basically impact that, but you cannot when you're depending on external parties. Moreover, they are dependent on sole source and limited source for suppliers for their key components and products. The solar industry, as we mentioned earlier, is highly competitive, and they can expect to face increased competition in the future, not from the existing companies, but also from new companies that enters the market. On the sales side, we mentioned one of the benefits is that their microinverters comes when they do a sell of the solar panels. But again, the problem with this is also that they primarily rely on distributors, installers, and providers of solar financing to assist in selling their products. They are not doing the actual sales themselves. They are also expanding into new markets with new products, which is obviously a really good indication, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be successful in that. They're under continuous pressure to reduce their prices of the products, which is negatively affecting their gross margins. This is clear because they're competing with cheaper options like string inverters and inverters plus power optimizers. This also means that the gross profit may fluctuate over time and they may not stay profitable. Business could also be affected by seasonal trends and construction cycles, and servicing the debt requires a significant amount of cash, and they may not have sufficient cash flow to pay their debt. Again, looking at this list, it may look like a lot. However, we are not particularly concerned about a lot of aspects around Enphase. We're a little bit concerned that they do not have the manufacturing capability themselves, and also that they're really reliant on sales from other parties, external parties. It's not themselves driving the sales, but otherwise than that, we actually see a quite bright future for them, and we are really optimistic about their opportunities to grasp more market share and expand their market share through their new products. So finally, what is the wrap up on Enphase? Well, the financial numbers have improved significantly over the past years. They have, as we mentioned several times, interesting and integrated products, but they're still focused on developing new products. They're actively pursuing overseas opportunities through new partnerships, and their market is expected to grow significantly in the coming years. The cons, again, they do not have manufacturing capabilities, they do not have control over the sales process, and they face strong competition in the US from companies like SolarEdge. At the moment, the PE ratio is 137.5 and the price to sales ratio is 30. So this is really high multiples, and basically they are traded like a tech stock, not like a solar stock, and this is a bit of a con from our side. So what is the final verdict from our side? We really like Enphase Energy and we see a bright future in the solar industry despite heavy competition. But again, it is currently priced like a tech stock and not a solar energy stocks. Solar energy stocks have historically not been able to live up to expected multiples. Again, there's just been a US election that turned out in favor of industries like the solar. So again, it may be that the tides are shifting and this is now the time of the solar industry. This is what we expect. But again, it may not be as much as the PE ratio and price to sales ratio is at the moment for Enphase. But if the market shifts or the growth slows, there will come a big downwards pressure on the share price of Enphase. We bought into Enphase a few months ago and we captured a nice gain of around 25%. Then we thought, okay, now it has increased too much too fast and now it's probably a good time to take some profit. So we sold off. That was not the right decision. The share price went up with, I think, more 15%-ish. So it was not the right time, but we were a little bit concerned about that it was simply growing too much too fast. So we really like Enphase. If there comes a dip in this stock, we will move in again. We will see this as an opportunity, not just a small dip on a few percentages. It has to be a little bit larger because we think that a lot of expectations are built into the share price, which they may not be able to deliver on so fast, and that there may come a pullback. So that is why we are not into the stock as of today. However, a dip in this stock is definitely an opportunity to buy. We hope you like this video. Please keep in mind that this is only for entertainment purposes and we are not professional financial advisors. Please subscribe for future content. Please give us a like, it really helps with the algorithm. And please provide a comment in the comment section. We do not know all about a company like Enphase, so anything you have to add, we do really appreciate that. Besides that, there's not much more to say than have a really good 2021. Hasta la vista, baby.